You know that feeling, right? You click buy on something online, and then you just can't stop refreshing the tracking page, wondering how in the world it's going to show up at your door so fast. Well, that magic is under some serious pressure these days. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain and explain how robots are becoming the secret engine that makes it all happen.
The entire world of logistics, the whole thing, is facing what you could call a perfect storm. We've got this huge demand from e-commerce that just never slowed down, crazy peak seasons that stretch everything to the breaking point, and supply chain disruptions that seem to pop up constantly. It's the new normal, and it puts this immense pressure on everyone to deliver and deliver fast.
And just to give you a sense of the scale we're talking about, look at this number. 95 billion. That's how many parcels were flying around the globe back in 2020 alone. It's just a mind-boggling amount of stuff.
But here's the thing, that number is already old news. Projections are showing that volume is on track to double by 2026. Yeah, double, in just 6 years. Think about that for a second. That kind of insane growth is something the old manual ways of doing things they just can't keep up.
And here's the kicker. This massive wave of packages is crashing right into a severe labor shortage. We have job openings in logistics at a 2-decade high, which means there just aren't enough people to do all the work. It's this collision of massive demand and not enough people that's making automation no longer just a nice-to-have, it's an absolute necessity.
So, what's the solution? Well, companies are turning to robotics. Let's start our journey where your package does, right inside the modern robotic warehouse.
Inside the warehouse, you've basically got two types of robotic workhorses running the show. On one hand, you have autonomous mobile robots, or AMRs. You can think of these as the flexible movers. They're not stuck on a track like an old conveyor belt. You can retrain them, change their routes, which is absolutely critical for today's warehouses. And on the other hand, you have the density experts, automated storage and retrieval systems, or ASRS. These things are all about using vertical space to store a ton of stuff and get it out lightning fast.
But, it's not all about fully autonomous systems running around by themselves. A huge part of this revolution involves robots that are designed specifically to work side by side with people. These are called collaborative robots, or cobots for short, and their main job isn't to replace the human worker, but to make them better.
So how exactly do they help? Well, it really comes down to 3 big things you see here. They boost efficiency by taking over the repetitive stuff, they make the workplace way safer by handling the heavy lifting, and they take on the purely tedious jobs, freeing up people to use their brains. Let's start with efficiency, because there's a great example of this.
This, right here, is that efficiency boost in action. The makeup company Coty Cosmetics started using cobots for the simple repetitive task of packaging powder pans. The result? They're saving $500,000 every single year, just from that one change. And maybe even more importantly, it let their employees move on to more interesting work.
Then you have the second huge benefit, safety. Cobots are just perfect for jobs that are physically demanding or even dangerous. Take the BMW plant in South Carolina. They use cobots to handle and lift heavy car parts. This pretty much eliminates all that strenuous lifting for the human workers, and that dramatically cuts down on the risk of injuries.
And that third area, handling tedious tasks, pops up in some pretty unexpected places. You probably don't think of the FBI as a robotics hub, right? But they use wheeled robots to manage their gigantic physical archives. These little bots can scan, organize, and file millions of paper records in seconds. Imagine a human trying to do that. It would be so slow and full of errors. Okay, let's talk about accuracy, because picking the right item off a shelf is a huge bottleneck in warehouses. Some of these AI-powered robotic picking systems, like the ones from Invia Robotics, can hit an incredible 99.9% accuracy rate. That basically eliminates errors, which means way fewer costly returns and, of course, happier customers.
All right, so the package is picked and packed with amazing efficiency. Now it's leaving the warehouse, and this is where it enters the most complex and, honestly, the most expensive part of its entire journey, what we call the last mile.
For the longest time, having robots deliver packages felt like pure science fiction, but it is happening right now. You've got companies like Cleveron using these customizable bots for deliveries in suburban areas. Refraction AI has a bot that's about the size of a bike, and it's designed to use bike lanes in cities like Austin. And it's not just happening outdoors. A company called Coco is using small robots to deliver room service inside hotels.
Now, a key piece of the puzzle that makes all this rapid delivery possible is something called the Micro Fulfillment Center, or MFC. Just imagine a tiny high-tech warehouse packed with robots that's strategically plopped down right in the middle of a city. They are a game changer for things like same-day grocery delivery, which can have really complex orders with, 30 or 40 different items.
And it's really important to get this next part. Those MFCs we just talked about, they're a tactic. They serve the bigger, broader strategy of what's called hyperlocal fulfillment. And that's really the ultimate goal here, to get inventory as close to you, the customer, as physically possible. That's what makes same-day or even 1-hour delivery a reality.
So we've seen the robot hardware, all the brawn, but none of it works without an incredibly smart brain. So let's talk about the AI and the software that's basically the operating system for this whole robot revolution.
This slide, wow, it reveals a really fascinating gap. It turns out that while Warehouse X are super optimistic about using AI, a staggering 99% of them say they face serious challenges when they actually try to implement it. There's this huge disconnect between what the tech can do and the reality of getting it to work.
So why the struggle? I mean, this AI is the system that's supposed to optimize everything, from where a robot drives to where a product gets stored. But it's often seen as just too difficult, too risky, and too expensive. But even more than that, there's a massive knowledge gap. Almost 90% of executives say they just need more help, more guidance on how to even do it right.
And that brings us to the million-dollar question, literally. This technology is completely transformative, but it also comes with a pretty big price tag. So how are companies actually paying for all this progress?
This is where some really clever business models are making a huge difference. Two, in particular, are making this whole revolution much more accessible. First, you've got Robotics as a Service, or RaaS. It's basically a flexible subscription model that makes it easier to get started. The other is specialized leasing. And the key thing here is that it can wrap up all those tricky soft costs, like software installation and training, into one simple, manageable payment. It removes another major roadblock. Okay, so we've covered the tech, the software, and even the financing. So let's zoom out for a minute and look at the big picture. What does this new world of human-robot collaboration actually mean for the future of work?
And this, right here, gets to the absolute heart of the matter. Especially with the labor shortages we have today, the goal isn't to replace people en masse, it's augmentation. The whole idea is to let people handle the tasks that need judgment, creativity, and problem-solving, while the robots handle the repetitive, heavy, and dangerous stuff. It's truly about making human jobs better, safer, and more valuable. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought. If robots and AI are going to increasingly handle all the physical and repetitive doing, what does that make the most critical skill for the human workforce in this new landscape? Maybe it becomes less about moving boxes and a lot more about managing, optimizing, and innovating right alongside these incredibly smart systems. What do you think?